So this video is going to be slightly different than some of the videos that I've put out so far. I'm actually going to be doing a home transformation, and I'll be trickling these videos throughout the next few months because there's several projects that I need to do in my home. And this year I moved my tree over to a new section, and I just couldn't bear looking at this wall anymore and this mantle. The mantle was just not designed well. It was very cheaply, well, it's actually nice wood, but it just didn't make sense. There were these little brackets on the sides that didn't connect, and then the mantle itself is just too narrow, so you can't set hardly anything on it. I could barely even fit a candlestick on there. So at Christmas time it got even more frustrating because everything just seems so flat against this wall. So I said, you know what, I'm going to tackle on the first part of this project, and then after Christmas we will then go to stage 2, because we're actually moving. There's a TV over on this wall, and we're going to move it above the mantle, and there's going to be some things structurally that we're going to have to do over here in order to move it to this direction. So at that point we're actually going to re-drywall and stuff like that. So these next 2 videos will actually be me building a mantle, as well as doing fixing these built-ins to where they make sense. Because right now you've got the lovely little apron up there that I don't understand. They're on both sides, and they're just like little faux sections that, I don't know. This side has a shelf, this one don't, and it's only this far from the ceiling, so you wouldn't have a shelf there anyway. So I'm trying to get it to look a little more symmetrical. As well as at one point we had a fish tank over here, so we had taken out a shelf over here, so we have to build a new one over here, take the aprons out, and then bold color, because I'm just all about color. I've been fighting it for so long, and you know what? I'm just not fighting it anymore. I don't know whether it was turning 50 or what. I said, you know what? I'm going full bore. I keep trying to make it, light and airy, and I'm not necessarily a light and airy person. I'm a bright and bold, colorful lover of color. So that's what we'll be working on. If that's not your cup of tea, I understand. It is mine, and that's just kind of where I've come full circle in my life. I hope that you can at least learn some of the things that I am learning. Obviously the mistakes I'll be making in the process. Come on back and enjoy and learn with me as we go along on this new journey. So the first step, let's get that tree out of the way. Yes, I moved it over there. Now I got to get it out of the way. And then we'll start to demo. Now these shelves were put in, this is a manufactured home, so these shelves were put in the factory before it was moved here, so they're not meant to be taken apart. So it is a little difficult, but we managed. And yes, I did find a Nerf dart up there. My children have been out of the home for several years, but yep, I still found Nerf darts. You will find them everywhere. If you have young children now, just be prepared. Anyhow, so yep, I'm just trying to take this all apart, and then went on to the other side. The other side actually came apart a lot easier once I learned how these were put up there, because they weren't traditionally put up there. Just like everything in this home is not traditional. So basically, I took the old piece, the bracket piece that was back there, off, because it had all these I don't know, like prongs sticking up, and it was too hard for me to get them all out of the board. So I took a piece that was from the other side and I attached it here. And then I also just took the front piece off of here, 1/4-inch sheet of plywood to go for the top. And then what I actually do have to buy more, because what I want to do is line this with a piece of plywood and then a 1x2 in the front so that this is wood on top of here instead of that color. Now let's start taking this mantle apart. There were a few screws along the top and it came off pretty easy. A couple of the screws didn't want to come out, but it took the whole thing off, all, you know, the apron part and the mantle all together. But and then you'll see it leaves a nice hole in the back where they didn't drywall all the way down. So we're using joint compound to add some texture because I had textured the top portion of this wall before. And so we're just putting some more texture on there so it smooths out that line where the old mantle was sitting. So I'm just using both of those trowels to really just smooth it out once I get all the compound on there. You want to smooth it out but then create texture at the same time, and it's actually quite therapeutic because you can't screw it up. It's super easy, and then we're just gonna let that dry. And now it's time for paint. So I was using Dixie Belle's Silk line and I wanted a specific color. So I went to dixiebelle.com and I clicked on the color lab and the match a color. Uploaded a picture of the color I wanted to match and then picked one of the colors from that picture. And it gave me a formula of 2 different colors to mix together, which was Nautical and Oasis. The problem was that was a little too navy, so I added a little midnight green. So the actual colors were 1 part Nautical, 1 part Oasis, and then half a part of the midnight green. So I'm just using I'm actually using a zebra brush, the angle sash brush I believe it is, and grouting or painting all of those grout lines. We're going to start, I put 1 coat on the wall and now I'm just adding some to that tile. Then we'll use a 4-inch roller. This is a foam roller, and I believe it's a Dixie Belle roller at that. They have basically everything that you need in one-stop shop, and that is fabulous about it. I used to be a retailer for them, and that's why you'll hear me talk about them quite a lot because I do love them, but it just was time for me to move away from the retail space. And if you would like to get some Dixie Belle paint, go to dixiebelle.com and look for your local retailer. Click on the Find Your Retailer button and put in your zip code, and you can find it there. They also sell it online, but try to find that local retailer first. I am going to actually put 2 coats of this everywhere. These tile have already been, they've been primed with Dixie Belle Slick Stick, and then I had painted them a white and then stenciled with a blue, but as I talked about earlier or talk about later, it just didn't fit in our home. So this is gonna be so much better, and I really am all about the new trend where they just flood a wall with color and paint everything in that same color. So that is what we're doing. So this does not take very long to dry, although I waited about an hour between coats, and well, I probably came back the next day and did the second coat. Now we're moving on to the second coat, and we are putting that second coat over there on the walls above the built-ins. I'm painting the built-ins, the wall, the mantle, the tile, everything all in the same color. And I picked the silk line of paint because it has a built-in sealer. So I thought that would work great. So now I'm painting the doors. So if you saw my cabinet painting tutorial, you'll see that when you're painting doors, you want to do the crevices first and then come back and do the flat surfaces. So I'm using a combination of the brush and the roller, but I use the brush first and then the roller. So here it is, almost all done. Basically, so see, some parts are still wet. And don't worry about the white because that's getting covered up because I couldn't pull that off because it is glued on. But basically, and then I still have to add the trim, but it's dark out right now, so I'm not cutting inside again, and I need the space outside. Also, I'll just wait for nap time tomorrow because I have the grandkids again. But also this shelf. Isn't this lovely? So I took that shelf right there. I took from up there, thinking it was all just the same size. It didn't dawn on me that it's actually bigger. So once I put it over here, I noticed that sticks out farther than the other one. That looks weird. I'm trying to get things symmetrical, and that sticks out. So I have to take this all off and then cut it down, put it back up. But again, it's dark, so I will do that tomorrow. But I'm loving the new color. And as you can see, one of the doors is broken. And I talked to my husband about just taking them off, but he said it's kind of a bigger project than what I was thinking. I thought you could just, pull them out. But apparently you have to take that whole front section off in order to remove it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. There are screws right here and here. Sorry that my phone's focusing on my finger, not the thing. So there are screws right there where it bends. So I might just take that bracket off and at least have just the two, just this glass panel and that glass panel, and I'll clean them up. And I'm painting the whole thing in a flat black. The next phase, I'm going to try to get some small tile. Remember how I told you this is a 2-phase project? So right now I'm just painting it all this teal color, and then the next phase I will actually do the small tile. But can I just say how beautiful the tile paint up? And that, mind you, what I did before when it had that stenciled pattern on them, I had painted with slick stick and then 2 coats of the paint and then a stencil, and didn't seal it because, midway through the project, my family was like, "Why did you do that? I hate it. It's awful." And they wouldn't let it go. So I liked it, sort of, but I agreed somewhat with them from the standpoint of, I think it was just the whole thing. It was the whole mantle, everything. None of it really just worked right. So, hence the reason why we're doing it all over. And the other thing, I have my grandson's little fence up. Ugh. The other thing that I wanted to point out is these doors. And this is why in phase 2, these doors I am actually going to rebuild. Because I don't know why. Look at the size of the cabinet and size of the doors. It makes no sense. And then the whole reason why we hardly ever use them, and there's stuff in there that's been in there probably 10 years and not ever touched, because it's a pain in the butt to get anything in and out of this little tiny opening. So anyhow, this whole cabinet will be restructured and new doors put on them. So that will be that'll be in phase 2. So exciting, right? But oh my goodness, I'm loving the color. It looks, like I said, it looks very navy in the camera, but in person it's not. It's a beautiful, deep, deep, deep teal. So I'm excited. Now let's head outside. So I am taking some 1x3 lumber and cutting it to size. The angles were a tad bit tricky, so I did a couple practice pieces first just to get the angle just right. But then I just measured them and cut them and put them up. And this is what it looks like. What do you think? Oh, and you're getting a little sneak peek of what the mantle looks like. Click subscribe and the notification bell to see next week's video of the mantle build. Happy painting.